Hello, hello, hello. We are back with Myrna and Jenn, read the Apocrypha, and we're excited for you to tune in today with us. We're in Jubilees, chapter 15. We're finishing it up today to give just a little recap about what's happening. Abram has been talking with God. He got his new name, Abraham. His wife Sarai got her new name, Sarah. And they've just been told that even though he's like 100 and she's like 90, they're going to have a baby. How exciting. Um, I'm almost 50, and that would not be exciting to me. I will just let you know. What about you, Myrna?
Well, I actually, when you just said that, I got thinking why people were living like into the 900s, 700s, 900s.
Some of
So
them.
why were they thinking that 100 would be a bad time to have a kid?
That is a good point. I don't know. Do we know how long Abraham lived? Like, had the life expectancy dropped so much because of their, I'll
No, because
say it,
he lived to be
hedonism?
like, I think he lived to be like 989 or something to that effect.
Really?
Hmm.
Okay, while we start this off, I'm gonna end up looking that up.
Yes, look that
Abraham.
up for sure. Um,
Abraham.
I want to say it was like that.
Okay, Abraham lived to be 175 years old.
Okay, I
It's
lied.
recorded in Genesis 25, 7 through 8.
Okay.
So life expectancy for
So,
Methuselah at 900 something, it
mhm.
has dropped over the years.
Well, yeah. So why has it dropped? Is it did they change the way? Okay, wait. You remember when God came down
Yeah.
and said that He's putting everything in order?
Yes. I
I
wonder if
wonder
that's
if He
when.
changed the time frame at that point, and that's why we're now only living that long.
Okay.
The way they count time,
Right.
because He put
So
things because they weren't putting their own selves in order, so He actually put the
he
skies
did
and
set
everything
the
in order.
seasons. He did say he set the seasons and times and all of this. So maybe that had something to do with the way we talk about their age and whatnot. But it does say from Genesis he lived to be 175 years old.
All
So
right.
he is past he is past his halfway point. So I could see him being like, what?
Yeah. Now I get
Okay.
it.
So, because of that, they've been told that they will have a son and his name will be Isaac. Now, remember, he at this point also took his wife's handmaid, Hagar, and had a child and named him Ishmael. So, there are these two boys right now.
Hmm.
And let's jump back in.
Let's
Here we
do it.
go. Let's do it. So, today we are starting in verse 19. So right before this, and Abraham said unto God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee," was his final like, and then God said, "Yea, and Sarah also shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him, an everlasting covenant, and for his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, also have I heard thee. And behold, I will bless him and make him great and multiply him exceedingly. And he shall begat 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to thee in these days in the next year." All right.
All right. Now I never remembered that Ishmael
Mm-hmm.
would also be a great nation, and these
Mm-hmm.
12 princes. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember that.
I don't either.
Um,
I don't remember that part of it.
I do not remember that. But I love that God doesn't forget him.
Correct.
I mean, God
Eh,
doesn't say, I am learning that God is more strict than I think we believe he is. But here we're seeing a little bit of compassion and from him and like, okay, I hear you about Isaac, so here's what we're going to I mean Ishmael, so here's what we're going to do.
right?
I'm gonna
Well,
still bless him.
and we had the discussion last time too of, was God upset with him for taking Hagar? Obviously, it doesn't seem that he said anything about it except Oh, so I will also bless this son of yours.
Yeah, and
Right?
not just not just blessed him. He will have 12 princes, and he
Right.
will become a great nation. So it's not just okay. We'll bless him. He is giving him quite a bit. He's blessing him quite a bit in comparison to um, what most people would maybe do for this child that's
Right.
not supposed to be the the perpetuator of his lineage.
Right.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Um, one thing here, because I went back into really quickly here the King James version of the Bible. That's the one that I would be reading from, just so that
Right.
people understand that. And if you go into chapter 21, or going into 20 and 21, in 20, it's it talks about the um, stuff that happened before, like because his wife and them had been that Sarah is preserved of the Lord, because this
Right.
other guy desires her and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then it immediately goes to that finishes, and the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. She conceived a child. It says nothing right in here about Ishmael at first.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's just interesting that here again we see this extra little bit of information about Ishmael, that he was blessed.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see moving forward. Is that accurate? Do we see that Ishmael is being blessed as well? Or do we see that he is just deserted by Abram? I don't know, because we're getting these new bits and pieces that fit in. And I feel like so far we keep getting explanations, like little explanations in it that we don't seem to
Yeah.
have in the Genesis account.
Yeah. I think that they took some of this stuff out because of some things that are in it, but I think
Mhm.
they took large groups of stuff out rather than just taking what didn't work.
Right. Hmm.
Right. It's like, okay, we're going to take out these whole chapters because
Yeah,
we don't
this
want
whole
to take the
story.
time to
Yeah.
to to sift through, right?
Yeah. It's just
Because to
interesting.
me that would be something important, um, because I don't remember the ending with Ishmael and Hagar being that nice.
Hmm.
Um, I I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna see here.
We'll see what's going on here.
So there, she's gonna have a kid, and it's happening next year. Go ahead with
Yep.
22.
Okay. And he left off speaking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham did according as God had said unto him, and he took Ishmael his son, and all that were born in his house, and whom he had brought with his money, every male in his house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin. And on the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and all the men of his house, and those born in the house, and all those whom he had bought with
God.
money, bought with money from the children of the stranger, were circumcised with him. So
All
we had
right.
a circumcision party.
A circumcision party while he was like 100. I'm gonna say
I dare to say someone passed out.
I am dare to say someone passed out. And it does not sound like for the faint-hearted guy who's reading this, like, oh, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't see a guy saying, "Hey, I want to go to that party."
Yeah, let's do this one. Let's make this covenant with God. I admit I'm not a guy. I don't have that experience, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know. I
Um, I wonder if there was mead involved though.
It was a barbecue.
No, mead, drink.
How about it was a barbecue with lots of stuff to eat and lots of
No,
alcohol, or
yeah, I said mead, like
Yeah, I know.
alcohol, mead, not meat.
Sorry, meat is different. You're correct.
Yeah, mead. I wonder if they did do a little bit of drinking to overcome the pain. I don't know. I never had any brothers, so I have no idea.
Well, okay. Here's my question.
If it hurts.
Here's my question. So, was there an instruction manual that God gave them too? Because I can imagine the guys like the foreskin needs to come off, and they're like, how are we gonna do that? I guess enough of them were butchers.
There must have been some explanation from God, because I don't think that He would just let them mark themselves up figuring it out.
Like, I don't know, let's try this way. Let's try this. Let's try, oh, hey, don't look. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I'm assuming there were some instructions. I don't see God just saying, figure it out for yourself.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'll just say, I
might be wrong, but
that is quite a doctor kind of setting. And I know that they had their doctors, and they had, they probably had lots of different people. They had butchers. I mean, guys were butchering animals to do them for sacrifices. So I think, like, it's just like a crazy image of, let's all get together, guys. Come on. And I like that it specifically did say, and he took Ishmael, his son. Ishmael, you're one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Dad. Thanks. I'm glad. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, and he did himself. I mean, it's not like,
I know.
It's like, I'm not going to expect you to do anything that I don't do, right?
Right.
So,
and I'm betting he was one of the older ones there. So
probably,
like, interesting. I didn't know we would be fully getting into discussing the cutting of foreskin and circumcision today, but hey, this is a fun day.
Well,
it is part of it.
I don't. This is my naivete.
Naivete.
I don't understand why it's a big deal, other than I know it is cleaner, and easier to keep clean, and not have infections and those kind of things. But I'm not sure why, because this is my stinkeriness.
Okay.
If we don't need it, why did God even put it on to begin with?
So it can be taken off? Oh, that's a good question, Myrna.
This is another thing that's going on my list.
Okay.
I don't know. I just think, can we hone things down just a little bit? Why, if you were going to decide to have it taken off, why did you even put it on to begin with? I don't know. Is this their sacrifice that is being asked from a part of them that we just have to say men think a lot about that part of them. So is it a sacrifice that God expects from them? So that's why He put it on. I don't know. My brain just goes there. My stinkeriness goes there, and I say, well, if you didn't want it, what? It's kind of like the appendix. If the appendix really we can live without it, why did we even have it to begin with? There's not much room inside there. Why did we stick something else in there that we don't need?
Right.
Anyway, let's move on, because that's Myrna's stinkeriness.
I like the questions though, Myrna. Like, it does for me. This always brings up a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so
25.
5. This law is for all the generations forever, and there's no circumcision of the days, and no omission of one day out of the 8 days, for it is an eternal ordinance, ordained and written on the heavenly tablets. And every one that is born, the flesh of whose foreskin is not circumcised on the 8th day, belongs not to the children of the covenant which the Lord made with Abraham, but to the children of destruction. Nor is there moreover any sign on him that he is the Lord's, but he is destined to be destroyed and slain from the earth, and to be rooted out of the earth, for he has broken the covenant of the Lord our God. For all the angels of the presence and all the angels of sanctification have been so created from the day of their creation. And before the angels of the presence and the angels of sanctification, He hath sanctified Israel, that they should be with him and with his holy angels. Okay,
Okay, so do you think that's still valid today?
that was a question that was coming to me because for us as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, it has, as far as I'm aware, it was not given to Joseph Smith to have the men circumcised.
Yeah,
But
it's not something that the church
yeah,
makes a choice for us.
no, it is a common practice in the U.S. for
Mm-hmm.
children, babies to be circumcised, or of course, male children to be circumcised. Where in other countries it's not as common.
It
So
used to be like all the time in the United States, but
yeah,
I know some guys my age that have never been circumcised. So
oh
there was a
really?
point where they allowed them to make choices because there was a while there where it was like for sure had to be done, and sometime um, around when I was born or even maybe a little earlier, where it was
Mhm.
a choice. So I know some that are my age that are not circumcised.
So yeah, there is a movement called uh, genital integrity movement or the
Oh my god.
intactivist movement,
Oh my gosh. All right.
um, for people who advocate for not having that. So I'm just looking up here. So apparently, some of the decline in circumcision, some people or thought people have the ideas that in part it is because of coverage in a bunch of the U.S. states don't cover it, so they just say
Oh.
okay, no, and as well as I think there's like 18 states that don't cover it in the Medicaid coverage of it. And we've had a lot of demographic changes in the US with a lot of people who are from regions where they don't circumcise. And so because of it, it's become more common not to know someone, to know a guy who hasn't been circumcised.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
Interesting.
That's
Intactivist unit.
interesting that Medicaid would not pay for it.
Yeah. So certain states don't have it covered because it's not probably the numbers show that it doesn't enhance or not enhance your life like it's not something that
Well,
is cost worthy to them, I guess.
I get
I guess. Weird, right? I didn't know it.
um
Uh,
that's interesting to me because I know there are quite a bit of infections that can happen
Mhm.
if it's not,
Cleaned.
taken care of
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
Um, in which can be so to the point that later you have to have it taken off. And I would
The
think
foreskin taken off.
yeah,
Not
the
it
foreskin,
just turned us
sorry.
down, you just gotta take it off. It's all
Take
infected.
it off. Just no, the foreskin that I would think that they would want to pay the lesser cost for a child to be circumcised than for an adult.
Yeah, right?
Because I've always thought that that's what insurance looked at. What's the
Yeah.
and maybe it doesn't happen enough that they determined that it wasn't. But then that's our government anyway. They just kind of but private insurances, most of them cover it. That's interesting. That Medicaid doesn't.
In certain states. Go
Hmm.
fig. The things we're learning today,
Yeah,
culturally and medically.
well, I know the first time I found out, um, one of Ernie's friends, um, they had a baby, and we went to see him at the hospital, and I was holding the baby, and his uh, blanket came
Uh-huh.
off, and I went to wrap him back up, and I was like, "Oh, you didn't have him circumcised yet? When's that going to happen?" "Oh, we're not going to do it." And I'm like,
What?
What? And that's when I was like, oh, okay.
I remember when my son was born, he was our first, and it's just natural. They actually just come in, and after you've had the baby and the doctors say, "Would you like the baby circumcised?" And all I did was look at my husband. I'm like, "That's your choice."
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. You get to make that decision. And he's like, yeah, because he was circumcised. Most, like I said, most
Most.
men in the most are. And so it was a yes. And so they take the baby to do all the weighing and all that and circumcise. And I'm like, yeah. And then I read scriptures or, the that talk about it. And I'm like, wow, okay, he was 100. Way to go. Like that wasn't feeling great for a while. All right.
No, 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 no. That, yeah.
Whew,
You-
that
There's,
was a
there's,
commitment to the Lord.
yeah, you get a little kudos there,
That
Abraham.
was a commitment to the Lord. All you and all your household. And now when I read those scriptures that talk about you and all your household, I'm like, that was legit. Abraham said to all of his people, all the guys, you come and get circumcised or you're out.
Yeah. It, yeah, the circumcision party. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So the other part of this that was interesting though is that if you're not circumcised, destruction is the
Yeah.
children of destruction. Oh wow. All right. Like I understand why when people read the Old Testament that they're like he is a god of wrath. He's like it's either you're with me or you're against me and there's no middle ground and I'm like wow. All right. I can see how that gets read in here a little bit.
Yeah. No, I can see that too. Um, but I think that now we've taken it clear to the other side where,
Mhm.
I've talked about it before. My teddy bear Jesus really bothers me.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, but God has boundaries. He has rules. He has things
Mhm.
that he needs you to do, and if you do them, then you're on his side. If you don't do them, you're not. And he kind of has to know where you sit. He has to know who you are. Who does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yes, it does.
So yeah. All right.
What did you think though about the angels? That it almost okay. In verse 27, the angels of sanctification, angels of the presence, they're talked about earlier. There were all these other different angels and stuff, but mm, angels have been so created from the day of their creation. I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Like they have also taken upon themselves this covenant. I'm like, are you saying that the angels are circumcised? Like,
Hmm.
what are you saying here? I wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, it's not exactly clear,
No.
but they were created to serve God,
Yeah.
right? They were created to do
Mhm.
what he needed done, to be on his side. And
Mhm.
I'm wondering if that's really all it's saying.
Yeah.
Because what God is saying is if you're circumcised, you're on my side. If you're not, you're not.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if that's really what he's saying is that the angels, presence and the angels of sanctification, were created uh, to be helping him to do the things that he needs done.
Yeah. That one
Um,
just didn't seem as clear to me.
no, it's not. I'm just assuming that is
Yeah.
what he's saying from kind of
Reading it. Yeah.
the little wording that I'm getting.
So if
Um,
anyone is listening out there and you have a comment about this, I'd like to know what you think what is being said.
yeah, yeah. It would be interesting to see what other people think about it. Um,
Go ahead.
all right.
28.
And do thou command the children of Israel, and let them observe the sign of this covenant for their generations as an eternal ordinance, and they will not be rooted out of the land. For the command is ordained for a covenant, that they should observe it forever among all the children of Israel. For Ishmael and his sons, and his brothers, and Esau, the Lord did not cause to approach him. And he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham, because he knew them. But he chose Israel to be his people. Okay, that one kind of confused me. For Ishmael and his sons and his brothers and Esau, the Lord did not cause to approach him. And he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham, because he knew them, but he chose Israel to be his people.
It almost sounds like he's saying, as for Ishmael and his sons, the Lord did not approach him because he had chosen Israel to be his people. And it's like they were Abraham's children. That didn't seem to be a factor. He knew them, but he chose Israel to be his people.
Yeah, so is he saying they didn't have to be circumcised?
No, well, we know Ishmael was circumcised.
We know he was, but is he saying that his sons and brothers and Esau did not need to be?
No, I thought I see this is why maybe some of this didn't get into the Bible. I'm reading it as the Lord did not cause to approach him, just meaning he's approached Abraham to say, Abraham, you're going to have a son Isaac, and Isaac is going to be the covenant is going to go through Isaac to the people forever. It's not
Yes,
going
but the
through.
verse before that says they should observe it forever among all the children of Israel.
Oh, observe the
To,
time of this covenant for their generations.
which is the circumcision. And he says, but he chose Israel to be his people. So
as long as you're in Abraham's
it
house,
sounds to me that they don't have to.
they're not under that law.
For
They're
them,
not
it's not
necessarily,
covenant.
yeah, they're not under the covenant and don't necessarily have to do it. But if you're in Abraham's house, you have to.
Well, yeah, because you got to do what Abraham says.
Right. So because you're Abraham's son in this moment and you're in his household, Ishmael was brought to be circumcised, but those ordinances are not necessarily immediately just under Ishmael and his people because the covenant is going with Isaac.
With, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to say brothers might have some feelings about that one, especially again because Ishmael is the older brother.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Interesting. So, okay, let's see what happens here at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he sanctified it and gathered it from amongst all the children of men, for there are many nations and many people, and all are his, and over all hath he placed spirits in authority to lead them astray from him. But over Israel he did not appoint any angel or spirit, for he alone is their ruler, and he will preserve them and require them at the hand of his angels and his spirits, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may preserve them and bless them, and that they may be his and he may be theirs from henceforth forever. And now I announce unto thee that the children of Israel will not keep true to this ordinance, and they will not circumcise their sons according to all this law. For in the flesh of their circumcision they will omit this circumcision of their sons, and all of them, sons of Beliar, will leave their sons uncircumcised as they were born. Sons of Beliar. The Lord did this again. At least here in the writing. Sons of Belial is an idiom that refers to people. Let me just double check here. People who are wicked.
Okay.
So all of them are wicked. Okay, this again is so crazy because one, he's made a distinction here between an angel and a spirit. What do you got with that?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think of those, I think, a lot of times as the same, but
Interchangeable.
in the world we live in right now, a lot of people would say, I've had an experience where I've seen a spirit, but they don't say I've seen an angel all the time. And usually when they say
Yeah.
spirit, it means a loved one who's passed on or something like that. I
I,
don't know.
I, I think an angel is someone who has not had a body yet, and a spirit is someone who has.
I think that to me, that is where I go with it. I think
At
it's
least,
interesting.
actually, I think that's what Joseph Smith said.
Ooh, okay. I'm going to look that up.
Although they did call Moroni Angel Moroni.
They did, but he was a
May-
resurrected being. So
True, he was resurrected, so that's a whole different thing.
let's see. Okay. So to doing a quick search, and yes, I stuck it into Google. So Joseph Smith angel definition are the search terms I used. The overview is the prophet Joseph Smith believed that angels are heavenly messengers who can be resurrected beings or spirits. Okay,
Okay,
so
so maybe this is giving that distinction of angels being resurrected beings and spirits not. So he's covering his bases for everybody.
here it goes on to say resurrected angels have bodies of flesh and bones because they're resurrected angels.
Right.
Have bodies of flesh and bones, have advanced further in light and glory than spirits, have been instrumental in restoring the gospel. The examples are Elias, Moses, Elijah, Moroni, John the Baptist, Peter, and James.
Mm-hmm.
Spirits can be premortal spirits waiting to experience mortality, can be postmortal spirits who have not yet been resurrected.
So, in other words, they don't have a body with them at the moment or have
Right.
not had one yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, it seems to me what God is doing is he's covering all of his bases. He's got his resurrected people and his non resurrected people.
Yes.
And he's saying that even these two are accountable for this also.
Yes, even these are all accountable for this. Which is pretty like yesterday, today, and forever, right? That's eternal.
Yeah. So again,
Spirits who aren't born,
why put
spirits
it
who have.
on?
Mm-hmm.
Why put it
Why put
on if
on the
you're going to have?
foreskin, right?
Yeah. Why put the foreskin on if you're going to have it just taken off? Everybody, right?
Is there something for a man so personal about that that it has to show that shows your commitment? In those guys, yes, but when you do it to an 8-year-old baby, it says, is that just their way of saying that the baby was born under the covenant? I've never thought about that before.
Um, I would say so because you can't impose a covenant on someone that doesn't understand it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we circumcise our children before they really even understand why we're doing it.
Right.
Um, so can they really be held accountable for that commitment or that covenant that we've done to them? Not so
True.
much.
Yet, in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we use that language when couples aren't just married in the temple, they are sealed for time and all eternity.
Mm-hmm.
We do that, and then we say the children are then born under that covenant.
Right.
Was this a physical way of doing that?
No, because it's a personal covenant.
Okay.
It's not a married covenant. It's not a covenant that includes anyone other than um, the person, Abraham. Each of the people individually are making this covenant with God.
Then why do it to babies?
Well, I think we began doing it to babies because it didn't hurt as bad.
Well, no,
But
because right here he tells them that they have to be circumcised. Any new one born, they have to be circumcised before before the 8th day.
oh, probably because we've started it. So I just think that he had to have something going forward. So he gave some direction going forward instead of don't wait till they're 100 like um, Abraham, because we don't even know if they're going to make it to there. We want to make sure that they can make that covenant. And so we do it early enough in their life that they can make that covenant. But again, do they ever understand the covenant?
No. Well, that is a question of teaching and parentage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there is something that children and this here is the Latter-day Saint teachings. Children um born to parents who have been sealed in the temple are born in the covenant. Children born in the covenant are entitled to eternal parentage and family relationships.
Yeah.
That's an interesting word. They're entitled to it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it feels almost like because his whole household was circumcised and the covenant is sitting with them, they have the baby circumcised to say you were born in this and you are entitled to that eternal parentage.
Well, it
Not
doesn't
that
have
you
anything to do with the
accept it yourself.
parentage. It doesn't have any. The covenant doesn't have anything to do with the parentage. The covenant is a covenant of obedience and uh, following of God. That's what they're covenanting when they're getting circumcised. That they're going to follow God. It doesn't have anything to do with the parents. But it is a way of beginning the child on that path. Um, you should start your children on the path of where you want them to go early. And so it is kind of like starting them on that path. And then when they get old enough, they can make their choices. But you have done your responsibility as a parent to put them on that path to be obedient and follow God in whatever religion you are in. Because I don't know, do you see anywhere here? I don't see anything here that is connecting it to anything other than a covenant with God.
It is completely a covenant with God. And something about Judaism here too that I'm seeing is the eighth day was often associated with new beginnings. So having it on the eighth day makes sense. It had that essence of it starts anew. So like a new life, being able to be taught and grown in the teachings and ordinances of the covenant.
Yeah.
Here you go. This is your first step. I mean, we have kids get baptized when they're 8 years old. It's a new
Yeah.
beginning moment, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
For them,
And
something
they
that
don't
they've chosen.
understand
It's that
everything
first
then.
step. No,
Right. And they don't
no,
understand everything then
no,
either. I
right.
think it's probably that same thing. It
That
is
same concept.
the parent's responsibility to start the child
Yeah,
on a goodly path.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay,
Last verse.
one verse left. And there will be great wrath from the Lord against the children of Israel because they have forsaken his covenant and turned aside from his word and provoked and blasphemed inasmuch as they do not observe the ordinances of this law. For they have treated their members like the Gentiles, so that they may be removed and rooted out of the land. And there will be no more, and there will no more be pardon or forgiveness unto them, so that there should be forgiveness and pardon for all the son of this eternal error.
How crazy would that be to be listening to God and getting these instructions and going, okay, so now I'm circumcised. Wow, crazy. All of my household. And now Isaac, he's going to have a large nation. This is exciting. And by the way, you're going to fall into destruction and not follow any of this. And I'm just letting you know down the road, it's not going to stick. That had to be hard a little bit to hear that as a father
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
because he saw the hedonism. He saw all of the idolatry and the all of that worshiping, and he's having this connection with the true God. And he's like, and all these efforts I'm going to make to raise my household and to do these ordinances and to be right, live righteously, it's eventually going to go awry. That'd be
Yeah.
hard. To me, that would be hard to take a little bit.
Well, I kind of like this verse because if we break it down,
Mhm.
um, it's telling us that Abraham is being told that he needs to teach his family this.
Yes.
And what happens is down the road, they will forsake this, okay, and turn aside from his word and provoke and blaspheme, inasmuch as they do not observe the ordinance of the law. For they have treated their members like the Gentiles. So, in other words, you haven't taught them the way.
Right.
The teaching of the way to God, which includes circumcision,
For them.
was not continued to be taught generation after generation after generation. So this teaches us, like I said before, we baptize at 8, even though they don't understand everything, is starting them on that path. Here, they didn't even start them on that path. They treated them like the Gentiles. They didn't teach them. They didn't, continue this process of coming to God. And so they are held responsible, not the people they treated as Gentiles.
Right.
And so this kind of just teaches us that sometimes we've got to get out of our little blinders and realize that there are people we need to teach of the great plan of God and of his son, the great sacrifice of our brother, Jesus Christ. Or we can be held accountable if we were supposed to and we didn't, for someone else's mistakes.
That was well stated. I also, in reading this part here, the bit of consequence is they will be removed and rooted out of the land. And that proved to be true.
Yeah.
And I love that combination of words, or yes, eternal error. That's an eternal error.
For all the sin of this eternal error.
That has such, I don't know, putting those words together just has this like weight to it.
Yeah.
This isn't just a mistake or, oh, I need to like come back to that, like exercise, right? Everyone at the beginning of the new year is like, I'm going to exercise and I'm going to do this. And then it falls off. And then like March, they're not doing anything again. And they're like, I'll get back to it. And it's a decade before they get back to it.
Right.
Like, I can start it again, which is true. But all of that teaching in those formative years is so important. So important to talk about these things and to understand the God of whom they are serving or trying to serve, or that at least Abraham was serving.
Yeah, and we find that in the Bible where it says, teach a child the way to walk, and when he is old, he will not depart from it.
Right.
Right? Teach them in their younger years. And the same thing here. They just kind of ignored them, kind of didn't teach them, and then they kind of didn't continue it down the generations, and they would become a lost people again.
Sad.
Yeah.
Okay. Whew. There is a lot here with Abraham and his family, a lot of circumcision happening, a lot of prophecy here of what is going to end up happening. And yet Abraham is still under the law to continue to teach and continue to teach his whole household. And that there is a covenant and a binding relationship with him and God. And I think that part is beautiful.
Absolutely.
To know that you're in a bonded relationship with God and you are here not for yourself, but to learn of him and to learn how to serve God and to learn all the things that he has to offer you. I think a God who is perfect, and a God who is eternal, like qualities that I would love to to have one day, or technically I consider myself to have my spirit be eternal. Even now I'm in an earthly experience, but I don't know. It's a starting place. It's a new beginning. So I'm excited to see where Abraham and his family they go from here as Myrna and I read the Apocrypha. Thank you so much for being with us today. Please like, subscribe, like some more. Go back, see some of our other videos if you'd like to know about Noah or Adam and Eve. There are bits in the Jubilee that talk about that. So I'm excited though as we keep moving forward. We're getting towards, there are 50 chapters here and we're on chapter 15. So, we're like a quarter of the way through now. So, we still have some ways to go, but I hope that you're finding something of interest here when you come about and find us. And we're so grateful to have you with us, and have a great week. Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.